January the 9th, 2026. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful, and it's that time once again for your daily Torment report, where we cover the latest posts and news regarding the two men tormenting the world the most, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to keep it on time. I've added timers. We're only dedicating 30 minutes to Trump and 30 minutes to Elon. So if we happen to get done, which we probably will, we're not going to need that much time for at least Trump. So any extra time will go towards Elon. But we're gonna go through as quickly as we can because it's the Sabbath. And I have a daddy-daughter date tonight. So do not want to disappoint her. All right, here we go. Let's get into this. Let's do Trump first. So we're going to start off here. Let me start the stopwatch. Where's it going? Resume. There you go. Let us get going. All right, so it's my first time with the stopwatch, so I could probably make it automatically start and stop when I switch scenes. Maybe I'll do that next time. All right, before we read Trump here, Fury says, wake up. Many of these are not getting paid. Many are really into this, and this is really the beginning of the second Civil War. Well, hello, Fury. So two of your posts have disappeared. Yeah, so there's an automatic moderation system. I have it turned all the way down to the bare minimum basic. But if you happen to put in any of the trigger words, which they're hidden, I don't know what they are. It's something that YouTube monitors for. If you put in any of their monitored trigger words, it will sometimes hide your post or moderate it. So it'll hide it and then like put it to moderate for later. Something weird like that. Anyway, sorry about that. All right, let's move on here. So we're going to start here. Day ago, breaking the numbers released today that show the United States has the lowest trade deficit since 2009. And going even lower, in addition, our nation's gas domestic product is predicted to come in at over 5%. That is where we left off. So this is his latest post. Let's see, this is 23 hours ago. Have a look here. So key economic takeaways. States won by Trump have added 11 times more jobs than left-wing red tape-ridden states. The golden age is in motion. Focus on housing is coming at a good time as jobs in residential construction are down slightly over the year. All construction job gains are in red states, and all manufacturing job losses are in blue states. Interesting. Private sector annual wages are on track to rise. That should be raised. 2,700. This is how you know he writes these things. I don't know. Actually, this might not be from him. This is from the Council of Economic Advisors. On track to rise $2,700 for a full-time worker since January. Manufacturing is even higher at $3,000. The Atlanta Fed forecasts that the U.S. will grow even faster in Q4 than Q2 and 3, despite the shutdown, which we have another shutdown coming. That's going to be fun. What is this? This is trade deficit is the lowest since 2009. Interesting. The monthly trade deficit is down 77% since January. There you go. Apparently, he's just posting stats today. So since Trump took office, all new jobs have gone to native-born workers. The last year of the Biden administration, 40% native-born, 54% foreign-born. Interesting. Since the Trump administration, 100% native-born, 0% foreign-born. I was watching a video today of a Venezuelan immigrant who escaped the Maduro regime. And I reposted on X saying, these are the kind of immigrants that we want, the ones who are actually seeking asylum. It was a heart-wrenching scenario, but it's a shame that we've had such an influx of illegal immigrants who we do not want here, that it overshadows the ones that we do want here. I'm kind of curious if the Trump administration is doing anything to accommodate. I mean, I guess he just went over and took care of the dictator, so that helps a lot. So they don't even need to seek asylum now. More news on that coming up. Trump wrote a post about that. Let's see, what is this? So since January, the private sector accounts for all new jobs created. Federal government jobs are down 277,000%. That is an insane amount of government jobs. Private sector jobs up 654,000. Fewer government jobs by 181,000. Cool. Trimming the fat. All right, manufacturing productivity is booming since Trump took office. Q1, Q2, Q3 compared to Biden. Fair enough. And then he, 23 hours ago, wrote a post saying, "Free Tina Peters." And then incompetent California leaders headed by Governor Gavin Newsom and a traveling mayor who likes Africa better than the USA. She chose to go there rather than stay home and fight the worst fire in California history, are absolutely unable to get people permits to rebuild the homes. All federal permits have been issued and received long ago. President DJT. I will be interviewed by Sean Hannity News, Fox News. That was 22 hours ago. So, been seeing a lot of this. So, this is over 1 million people rally. This is Iran's second largest city under protesters' control. Regime forces lead. This is good news.
Protests in Iran's second largest city, Mashhad, have surpassed 1 million participants. Unable to withstand the pressure from the protesters, security forces were forced to leave the city. Footage circulating on social media shows demonstrators, mostly young people, chanting slogans against the ruling regime. Protesters say the clerical regime will soon be overthrown and that Reza Pahlavi will return to power. The protest movement, which began due to the devaluation of Iran's national currency and sharp price increases, has been ongoing for 11 days. Although there have been fatalities among demonstrators during clashes with security forces, this has not led to a decline in the protests. Instead, the number of protesters has continued to grow day by day. Several cities have already come under the control of the protesters. In cities, portraits of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, as well as statues of Qasem Soleimani, are being burned.
So, I want to show you a video that I think is comparable. It's a good video to watch alongside what's going on in Iran. It turns out that people are leaving Islam. And I was under the impression, Fury's corrected me on this a couple of times, but I was under the impression that there was a good faction and a bad faction of Iran, the Sunnis and the Shiites. And I know Fury's our moderator in chat, Fury, has done more research on this than I have. But I thought you guys might appreciate this video that was posted by Yisrael Goldstein, one of my favorite gentlemen that I like to listen to, favorite rabbi. He constantly goes through tragedy and is one of the most positive people you will ever meet. He's constantly on here praising God, which is just phenomenal and awesome. But he reposted this video today from the son of Hamas talking about Islam. And I thought you guys would appreciate this.
Peaceful.
Then they are not Muslims. Then they're just nominal Muslims. They have been given the identity of a Muslim because they were born in that environment, and they don't have any other identity. They are just weak individuals, and they don't practice Islam. According to Allah, they are going to hell, but for some reason, they just keep clinging and hanging on this identity.
Let's have some straight talk. What does Islam really think about the Jewish people? Where best can we hear it from than the son of Hamas, who grew up in the household, one of the founders of Hamas, and God has led him to leave his family and to leave everything he grew up with to find a different world. Let's listen to him as he talks to us the truth, what Islam feels about the Jewish people.
Islam is not a religion of peace. Bottom line. And this is not according to one sect. This is according to the Quran itself. And all the Islamic sects, denominations, follow a major book, and that's Quran. And Quran in itself is not peaceful. The God of the Quran is not peaceful. He's a very violent God.
Oops, sorry.
He's not tolerant. He hates the Jewish people. He hates the non-Muslims. And he gives the authority to the Muslims to punish the non-Muslims if they don't obey Allah, to function as the sword of Allah on earth. And this by itself is blasphemic, is wrong, is against the way of life, is against the way of evolution, it's against religion, it's against morality, it's against diversity. And those who claim that Islam is a religion of peace, they are liars. They are all paid actors. They are all compromised by the sheikh oil money. And they don't want to piss off Islamic political regimes. And
See, when I hear that, that's a very strong statement. I don't know whether to believe it or not, but I'm just presenting this for information. This is somebody who has left Islam, so he knows more than I do. Granted, Fury knows more than I do as well. But I wanted to put this out here because a lot of the end time events seem to revolve around Islam. So I think it's something that we should be mindful of. I could be wrong, but when you read about the second beast and how it's enforcing, the mark of the beast, that seems to be a doctrine or a belief. It is some kind of an entity, whether it's a government, a group, an AI, that doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Something is enforcing a mark which is representative of what you are to believe. And what he's describing about Islam sounds like a very strong candidate for what it enforces, to where if you don't accept it as it is, they will kill you.
Islamic money and Muslim investors, and most importantly, they want to avoid the Muslim rage. So they just keep dragging humanity into the trap that Islam is a religion of peace, while it's not. So as someone who know the Quran very well, so the people cannot be mistaken, say, okay, this is your Islam, or this is your sect, or this is your denomination. I tell them, rest, take a seat, and listen. The Quran itself has a problem. Allah himself has a problem. And if we want to deal with Islamic violence, then we need to deal with the root cause of this problem, and it resides in the Quran itself.
What about the millions of Muslims across the world who do not engage in jihad and who are peaceful?
Then they are not Muslims. Then they're just nominal Muslims. They have been given the identity of a Muslim because they were born in that environment, and they don't have any other identity. They are just weak individuals, and they don't practice Islam. According to Allah, they are going to hell. But for some reason, they just keep clinging and hanging on this identity. Muslims. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. And they don't earn my respect to identify with something they don't understand, or to identify with a Nazi ideology and pretend to be peaceful. So Islam is not ethnicity. It's not even a religion. It's a totalitarian system. And this system does not see anyone outside of it, does not recognize anyone out of it. It's a mental illness, in other words. And the Muslims, whether they know what Islam is or they don't know what Islam is, as long as they identify with this sick ideology, I consider them psychopaths. I consider them sick people, and they must seek help.
Yeah, there are you I think you called them nominal Muslims. I mean, you made a term for the millions of Muslims who are peaceful, and I just want to point out, they're not actors, right? Like there are millions of Muslims in this world who are peaceful. You can call them nominal if you want, but I just think it's worth noting, right? Isn't that an important fact? I think. Do you agree?
No, I disagree.
Oh.
I disagree because in Islam, and you know that I rejected Islam totally many years ago. The Islamic law, okay, the Islamic law says, and this is according to Muhammad in a Sahih Hadith, if someone change his religion, Islam in this case, give him 3 days. If he does not return to Islam, kill him.
See, we're going to stop there. This is a very interesting video, but like I said, we're on a time limit today. It could go either way. So I could see Islam being part of what is required for the mark of the beast. I can make an argument for it that way. There's also the Roman Catholic doctrines that I could make an argument for being the mark of the beast, because Rome basically became a church. Granted, a lot of churches resulted from what happened with the Roman Catholic Church. There's a lot of history there, a lot of Reformation. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for things going the way they did. And then there's also the possibility of the combination, the Chrislam, the combination of Christian and Islam. But my research into that is that that's probably the least likely. What it looks like is when we get to a point where there's an artificial intelligence that accomplishes what it is that they want to accomplish, they will probably put it in charge of it will become a governing entity somehow, and it may enforce one of these beliefs. And it's going to be very bad. So right now, I don't think we have enough information to honestly say we know exactly what's going to happen. But what it's shaping up to look like is that artificial intelligence will be involved and it will enforce a belief. And if you don't change your belief to be that, and you don't act on that belief, that's the forehead and the hand. If you don't change who you are to live and believe that belief, they will kill you. And honestly, that might be the better choice based on what the book of Revelation says about those who take the mark of the beast. It is the wrong choice. The right choice is to have the Lamb's Father's name in your forehead and in your actions. In other words, follow the Creator. In other words, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. And that's what your actions should reflect. Loving God and loving your neighbor as yourself. That's the right mark. That's the right belief. That's who we want to be, irregardless of what they try to force on you. And this very likely is the reason why in seal number 5, martyrs are killed, because people are going to be forced to make that decision, I think, to make that choice, be given a choice. And like he just said, they're given even Muslims are given a choice to get with the program. They have 3 days or they kill them. That's going to be an interesting day if that ever happens. All right, let's get back over to Donald Trump, because we're almost halfway through. We're more than halfway through our time. We're not going to watch all of this either. This is just what's going on in Iran right now. So a lot of stuff going on in the world. So that's 9 minutes if you want to watch that whole video. All right, moving on. 15 hours ago, Donald Trump posted Venezuela is releasing large numbers of political prisoners as a sign of seeking peace. This is a very important and smart gesture. The USA and Venezuela are working well together, especially as it pertains to rebuilding in a much bigger, better, and more modern form. Their oil and gas infrastructure, because of this cooperation, I have canceled the previously expected second wave of attacks, which looks like it will not be needed. However, all ships will stay in place for safety and security purposes. Interesting phrase of words there, given what we looked at last night in regards to what's coming up the 13th through the 15th at that Security Council. At least $100 billion will be invested by Big Oil, all of whom will be meeting with today at the White House. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I caught like 10 or 15 minutes of that meeting. It was hilarious. Trump is such an entertainer. I actually really find myself enjoying these conferences and these meetings with the various departments. Trump is a true leader, and you can tell he's anointed by God. It's really fun to watch him. But I didn't get to watch the whole thing. Definitely a lot of investment. It was interesting listening to a lot of the bigwigs talk about their businesses. All right, moving on. This is pretty funny.
It's pretty powerful when you're like, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, nothing. You guys want to grab a dictator of Venezuela and watch it at my house? Can Rubio come? Oh, last time yeah, Rubio can come.
Yeah.
And then they all sat in the screen and they're like, yo, you know what? I'm the president, right? Can I put the basketball game in the national championship and us grabbing Maduro? Well, yes, Mr. President, you can, because he's powerful. He's reached the top of every field that he's wanted to be in. Entertainment, he had the #1 show on the planet. Then he decided to be president, and he's the most talked about president in the history of presidents. You can combine all the presidents, and they still would be short when it comes to how many times President Trump's name has been said on this planet. So for her to be like, yeah, and he's doing this, and dopamine hit, he creates his own hits.
That's funny. A lot of that's really true because they actually did the operation. They set up a temporary command center at Mar-a-Lago, and I believe the reason he's making that comment is because the game was on one of the TVs they were watching that they showed. I don't know if he was actually watching the game during the operation because it was like 3 a.m. or something like that. Probably something to take care of the time in between because they have to travel over there and stuff like that. But still very funny. And it is a testament. Donald Trump's life is a witness to those who would, look up to him because he's a man who admittedly follows God, who listens to the Holy Spirit. People don't realize that. He's talked on occasion about how he has a higher purpose, and it's not his own purpose. His higher purpose is one that's directed by the Holy Spirit. He doesn't say it in such blatant terms, but if you listen to him long enough, you see it. And you can see how God has blessed him, anointed him, and put him in the position to where he is today. All right, moving on. So this one is, I don't know what this one is.
If you look among 2024 Trump supporters, we're talking about 80% support. The vast, vast majority of Republicans are with Donald Trump on this issue. Donald Trump has had an iron grip on that Republican base for a long period of time, and it is the same iron grip that he had 6 months ago. I know every so often people are trying to say, oh, I spot these little rifts in the Republican base. They're finally starting to break. They're starting to break from Donald Trump. It ain't happening.
Okay. All right, 6 hours ago, he posted, I look forward to having a meeting with Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia, in the White House during the first week of February. I am sure it will work out very well for Colombia and the USA, but cocaine and other drugs must be stopped from coming into the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Man, he is hitting so many different countries, categories, angles. it's just amazing. I mean, he's taken this to a whole new level. It's as if he's preparing the world for something. I wonder if that's not the last seals and the return of Yeshua. All right, so what is this? Is largest oil companies in the world are coming to the White House at 2:30 p.m. Everybody wants to be there. It's too bad that the ballroom hasn't completed, because if it were, it would be packed. Yeah, this is something that he's brought up many times before, that one of the big challenges of conducting business at the White House is it's so old. A lot of the rooms are really small, and they can't fit as many people as they would like to in the rooms. We apologize to those oil companies that we cannot take today, but Secretary of Energy Chris Wright and Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum will see them over the next week. Everyone is in daily contact. Today's meeting will almost exclusively be a discussion on Venezuelan oil and our long-term relationship with Venezuela, its security and people. A very big factor in this involvement will be the reduction of oil prices for the American people. Additionally, and perhaps most importantly of all, will be the stoppage of drugs and criminals coming into the United States of America. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. There you go. Let's see. And then this, 4 hours ago, today, the United States of America, in coordination with interim authorities of Venezuela, seized an oil tanker which departed Venezuela without our approval. Whose bright idea was that? This tanker is now on its way back to Venezuela, and the oil will be sold through the great energy deal, which we have created for such sales. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is a book that he's recommending. Art Laffer and Stephen Moore have written an incredible book, The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. You know what's interesting about this is, we keep seeing this term of miracle and that the U.S. was dead, which that kind of terminology is right in line with the first beast from Revelation, the one with the head wound, the head wound to death, and then it miraculously was restored, and the whole world wondered. So that's what I'm reminded of every time I read that kind of terminology. All right, 2 hours ago, our country would be Venezuela on steroids if it weren't for President Donald J. Trump. The strongest economic growth since 1990. Quote from Mark Penn. And then 2 hours ago, also, many of my strongest supporters and friends in Wyoming have been calling and telling me how great MAGA Megan Degenfelder is. Degenfelder or Degen? I don't know. Degenfelder is because she is considering launching a campaign to be the next governor of the great state of Wyoming, a place I love and won big in 2016, 20, and 2024. From everything I know about her, she would be fantastic. And then I think this is his pinned post, which is the one we just watched from CNN. Let's give this a quick refresh to see if there's anything new. Nope. No, that's the pinned one, and that is it. Hey, we did it. We did it within the 30 minutes, and we even got to watch another video from Yisrael Goldstein. All right, let's use our extra time here for Elon Musk. So we'll switch over here, and then I will switch to the Musk tab and restart our timer. Resume. There you go. All right. Are we doing top to bot, top up? Yep. So I scrolled down here 23 hours ago. 18 hours. Okay, so we're skipping Grok. We've seen this a couple of times. Let's see. Dakara Thompson was sexually assaulted by an illegal alien. He brutalized her in ways that would make any Hollywood horror movie seem like Sesame Street. That's a strong statement. While Dakara clung to life, he took her battered body and threw her off a bridge. Good Lord. BLM never protested for her. Race hustlers like Benjamin Crump, Al Sharpton, and Dominique Alexander remained stone cold silent. Jimmy Kimmel said nothing. Liberal influencers still don't know who she is. Not one liberal or Democrat chanted, "Say her name." Not a single one. Yeah, he's really highlighting. Who is this? This is from Just Gen RX, and this was reposted by Elon Musk. It's interesting how they pick up on one person out of the tens of thousands that are hurt or even killed, and it's such a sham. We should be looking at the bigger picture as a whole to solve the actual problem, rather than trying to manipulate the narrative. Not one liberal or Democrat chanted say her name, not a single one. The mainstream media buried her story extremely fast, too. It was gone before the sun came up. Dakara Thomas was a mother, too. Her killer's actions made her 2-year-old son an orphan. Yet not a single Democrat posted about her. Doesn't fit the narrative of white hatred. All right, and this was reposted. So this is from the State Department, reposted by Elon Musk. The UN Permanent Forum on People of African Descent operated as a front for radical DEI activists who lobbied for race-based wealth redistribution and sought to hold a UN tribunal to compel Americans to pay reparations. The United States is withdrawing from this UN forum. Trump pulls us out of racist UN forum that pushed global reparations agenda. Good for him. Kind of feels like an exodus. What Trump is doing kind of feels like an exodus, doesn't it? It's almost like, Moses leading the children of Israel out of Egypt. It kind of feels the same way, same thing. I wonder if there's anything to that, because that's the kind of sense that I get. It's just like Donald Trump is taking care of the country and, taking care of the world at the same time too. But he's leading us out of all of this evil. He's just leading us out of these evil ways and evil agreements and the death grip hold that people have had over the United States, no thanks to the incompetent leaders before him. Yeah. Democrats are sending a clear message. They will import millions upon millions of illegals. So this is from Theo Wald, posted from the real Theo Wald on January 8th. Democrats are sending a clear message. They will import millions upon millions of illegals. And if Americans vote for mass deportations, Democrats will unleash hordes of left-wing lunatics to threaten, harass, and intimidate ICE agents to get every single leftist judge to slow and obstruct deportations. Yep. Elon's response was yes. That was 16 hours ago. And then let's see, 21. I wonder why these, like, the timing on these is different. This was 16 hours ago. This was 21 hours ago. I wonder if I have a setting wrong. I wonder when I get to the top, I'll look to see if there's like a filter setting. Exodus, spot on. Yeah, Trumpestein, Trump Diddy. We got TDS in the chat. Investigation traced George Soros funding to 54 groups directly linked to domestic terrorism. Here's where it gets crazy. Each one of those groups also networks with as many as 300 separate entities orchestrating terrorism. We traced over 80 million going from the Open Society Foundations. Interesting, these names. It's almost if it sounds harmless, you should look extra close. Going from the Open Society Foundation to at least 54 groups engaged in crime and domestic terrorism on U.S. soil or that are pro-terrorism, according to his own files. So it's rock solid. Over 23 million went to at least 7 groups that are doing things that meet the FBI's definition of domestic terrorism. George Soros linked to training terrorists on American soil. Of course he is. We've been hearing about this for years. When are they going to do something about it? The Center for Third World Organizing, for example, is an organization that has a hub that fused together several really extreme organizations. We found 400,000 going to them, and they openly boast of the fact that they threw down during the uprisings in Minnesota, obviously referring to the rioting and boasting of how many thousands of people they helped train. a lot of these groups have created what they'll call like a protest guide or an activism toolkit. Oh, is this what he's saying?
Open Society Foundations. So myself, my colleagues at Capital Research Center, basically went through as many grants of his, as many funding streams as we could find. And here's the smoking guns that we believe that President Trump, if he's informed of it, can use to go after Soros's network of hate in various ways. We traced over $80 million going from the Open Society Foundations to at least 54 groups engaged.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much read the whole thing, so you guys get the point. I'm going to move on. All right, it's official. So from Eric Doherty, this was reposted. So Eric Doherty posted this on January 8th, and Elon Musk reposted it today, saying it's official. The federal government is now investigating hundreds of millions of Somali dollars leaving through the Minnesota airport. Wow, someone must go to prison for this. There are some. Okay, I'm not going to make this mistake again. We'll let him read it.
What are these cash transfers? There are Somali couriers who come to the airport almost daily with $1,600,000 in cash and a luggage. That
How are
sounds a
they
little
not catching
suspicious,
this when
it
it
was
goes
going
through
on daily, and they were moving about
TSA?
$350 million a year in cash.
Are they
in their
taking
luggage
advantage of
out
TSA
Minneapolis
Plus
Airport,
or whatever?
and then traditionally or predominantly overseas. One of the routes that the TSA saw the money go, it would go from Minneapolis to Europe to Dubai, often through Amsterdam. It was flagged for years. TSA was flagging these payments for years. They grew from $20-30 million a year to $350 million a year the last 2 years, 2024.
They knew about it.
2025. It was literally a foreign ATM taking cash out of the United States to foreign destinations, and we don't know the reason why. But that is now under investigation by the FBI and HSI. And people say, well, is this normal?
When I used to fly to Australia, they wouldn't let me bring more than I can't remember what the number was. It was like more than $2,000. So how can somebody with $600,000 go anywhere? Maybe it was an Australian thing. I don't know. But that's nuts. The fact that they knew about it, come on. Wow. We're going to skip Grok news. JD Vance, we love him.
By the way, if you can't spell learning, maybe you shouldn't be in early childhood education.
Right.
By the way,
that's pretty good. Gotta love memes. All right, what's Elon saying here?
The reason that I'm in favor of AFD is that there's some fundamental things that must happen without which I'm concerned that Germany will fail. There have to be sensible controls on.
Haven't heard about AFD in a while.
If there are criminals in Germany who are committing crimes and hurting people in Germany, they must be deported, and that's not happening. Then there must also be freedom of speech such that the people know what the truth is. If you do not have freedom of speech, you cannot be a democracy because the public cannot make an informed decision about their vote. In Germany right now, there are draconian rules against freedom of expression, where even insulting a politician can get you prison time, which is insane. So I like the fact that the AFD is in favor of freedom of speech. I like that the AFD is in favor of sensible immigration policies and deportation of criminals. And I like the generally libertarian policies of the AFD.
Yeah, we haven't heard him talk about AFD for several months. I mean, he hasn't. Geez, if I think about it, I'd say almost since before Doge. I could be wrong about that, but that was before all the other craziness that's been going on in the world. That was kind of one of his big talking points. All right, Charlie Kirk got shot while peacefully exercising his free speech rights. The left celebrated and called for more political violence. Woman attempts to illegally run over an ICE agent with her car and gets shot. The left screams and protests. This is who they are. Never forget. Yeah, it is, guys, it is definitely a separation of the wheat from the tares. The tares are, they're worthless. They're crying over evil. and they're screaming at there's when a good person dies, that's what they make a big deal about it. They don't make a big deal about it. They make like they didn't care about Charlie Kirk. They just laughed and praised his death. Who does that? And they scream and cry about somebody who tries to kill somebody. And we saw the videos. We looked at it in slow motion yesterday. There's more angles that have come out that clearly show that she looked at the guy in front of her vehicle. So not only did she turn her wheels to point at the guy, she looked at him, smiled, and slammed on the gas. That is all proven. That's factual. There's a lot of video evidence that proves it. And even the driver's wife, who was a female, by the way, so she was a lesbian, her wife admitted to them coming down here specifically to target ICE agents, to agitate them and cause problems. So it was just a bad situation all the way around. And we don't wish death on anyone. It's a tragedy that she died. It truly is. But when you try to murder somebody, that's the situation that they're allowed to kill you. Read your Bible. That's what she tried to do. Whether it was whether it was premeditated, doesn't sound like it was premeditated, but it was an in the moment attempt to murder someone. All right, moving on. What do we got here?
It was literally a foreign ATM taking cash out of the United States to foreign destinations, and we don't know the reason why. But that is now under investigation by the FBI and HSI. And people say, well, is this normal? I mean, maybe this goes on in every airport. We got comparative statistics yesterday. The amount of money that these Somali couriers took out of the Minneapolis airport with the TSA flagging it daily was 99 times larger than all the cash that was declared in luggage going out of New York's JFK International Airport, one of the busiest.
All right, we got to cut some of these off because we got to keep going if we're going to make time. We know about that. All right, this is XAI's Colossus building. We don't really need to know about Colossus. Extreme violence activated by the radical left. So from Colin Rugg, breaking protesters in New York City call for the hanging of Secretary Kristi Noem and the execution of ICE agents and footage shared by Scootercaster New York. One woman pushed back saying 2 wrongs don't make a right and was immediately drowned out. The mob also started chanting F Charlie Kirk. Kristi Noem will hang, save a life, kill an ICE, F Charlie Kirk. Wow. That's really looking like February 17th might be the start of something. Wow. Wow. You can see the crescendo leading towards something happening. Extreme violence advocated by the radical left. Dr. Lauren Holder in the chat says the real tragedy is that Renee died and she didn't appear to be saved. You know, Jesus came to save everybody. You know, she'll have her chance to stand before God and face judgment. What happens to her is, I mean, we don't really know. This is the thing, is we don't know where people's hearts are. It could have been the only and this is the thing I think most people don't understand, is the only unforgivable sin is blasphemy against the Holy Ghost, against the Holy Spirit. So, I mean, Jesus came to save everybody. He was sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel specifically, which is why we've had this 2,000 years of grace, so that people could live, be born, and become part of the temple, which is going to be part of our future. But overall, I think we're going to find out that more people were saved than we thought. It's definitely a tragedy that she died. And I think that the wheat from the tares, the harvest, the separation right now, it's interesting to think about what does it mean to be burned. You know what I mean? Like tribulation. I reposted a video today that kind of illustrated this. Tribulation. The thing about tribulation is it eliminates excuses. People will make excuses. They'll delay. They'll slack off. They'll be lazy. When it comes down to tribulation, who you really are as a person comes out. I think the people who are deeply worthless are being separated from the people who, at their center are really good people. And you have to think about this lady Renee. She's getting paid. So it's a fact, from what I understand from the reporting, it is a fact that she was being paid to agitate. But I have to believe that she felt like she was doing something right. In her mind, she was probably thinking that, ICE agents are kicking out good people. And, whatever it was that convinced her of that, probably CNN, but led her to take action in order to stand up for the rights of the people. The real tragedy is that it's very likely she was woefully misinformed. She didn't have enough. If she's has any belief in God, or spiritual matters, she was woefully unaware of what's happening in the world. She should not be fighting ICE. She should be, helping them, bring justice. Because, there are evil people here who intend to kill. So it's not, I don't think it's as black and white as she's saved or not saved. She's the unfortunate tragedy of the curse that's on this planet. And she'll stand in judgment someday to give an answer for why it is that she did what she did. As will we all. I've made egregious mistakes in my life as well, and I fully expect to give an account for why I do and say the things I do. I think we should all think like that. We're responsible for everything we said and done. And there may be reasons behind what we say and what we do. But Jesus paid the price so that we don't suffer the consequences of those things that should ultimately result in our right to life and immortality. And I don't know who that extends to. I hope it extends to far more people than we realize. Because when you think about it, and this is why I'm like I'm adamant that I don't think it's just doctrinal, because there's 40,000 different variations of Christianity, and 39,000 of them will get very angry at you if you don't agree with their interpretation. It's not that simple. I mean, it's way simpler than that, in that it's literally just looking at the serpent on the cross, seeing the serpent has been killed. The victory is won, and you're saved. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. We're 10 more minutes. We got to burn through some of this. So we're going to start skipping a lot of stuff. We're going to skip XAI stuff. Imagine how many lies they got away with before Elon gave us X. So many. A nation that cannot say who belongs within its borders is no nation at all. Mass immigration was never an accident. It's policy. Agreed. Nick Freitas, look, it's not hard. The left just wants to live in an environment where taxes are high, the regulations are plentiful, and property is collective and the economy is centrally planned. No one has guns except the police, who no longer exist because no one is illegal. Yeah. All right. From Deport Foreign Criminals. So this is another bad person who probably didn't suffer consequences. He stabbed her once. Wasn't sure she was dead, so he stabbed another 50 times. Wow. He came here as an asylum seeker, was successful, got a British passport, went home for a holiday and a wife, brought her back, all good so far. So obviously not asylum. Yeah, that's a problem. From the rabbit hole, if you have always believed that everyone should play by the same rules and be judged by the same standards, that would have gotten you labeled a radical 60 years ago, liberal 30 years ago, and a racist today. True. Let's see, we got some responses. Agreed, but those are in the body are being separated to wheat from the tares with the current rhetoric around Erica Kirk involved in the murder of Charlie. We're all being tested. True. That's really what it is I think it's being tested. It's almost like we're being given the opportunity to see who we really are. Like, and that's what really matters is like God looks on the heart. He knows who you are. Now we're in an environment that is putting you to the tests. Kelly says people do not have a clue as to the amount of illegals the previous administration brought into the country. It's enormous. I think we do. By and large, we think it's significantly more than what's being reported. What's being reported was like 9 to 15 million. I think it's no hidden. There's nothing hidden about the fact that it's probably like 20 to 30 million or more. Could be 40 million. It's a lot. Like I agree with you. It's it's not talked about enough. And I think that and we've talked about it that at the current rate of deportation, he's not going to get rid of everybody who came through, which is very likely what is going to be the fuel for the Great Tribulation. In other words, if you've got 20, 30, 40 million people here who intend to misbehave, those 40 million, let's just assume it's 50 million. Well, out of the 350 million in the United States, 50 million can cause a problem. So it's kind of a big deal. Kelly says, I watched Monkey Works and he tracked all the flights coming in. It was crazy. Likewise, I did too. All right, keep on moving on. The left chanting, kill Christy Noam is, so this is severe. We've already seen that. From Peter Diamantis, Elon Musk is right again. He predicted 5 times the GDP in the next 24 months. Check this out. Okay, so that's just economics. I used to believe non-criminal and economic contributor were sufficient criteria for immigration. As I learned more about human differences, I've added one. Can I trust this person on a jury? Good. Why invest in Mississippi? Let's see. Excited to invest in Mississippi. Okie doke. Grok, we're going to skip. When Charlie was murdered by radical leftists, the conservative movement did not riot in the streets, loot, vandalize, nor demand the death of others. Instead, I watched them sing hymns, pray, and most astonishingly, forgive. See, when we're under tribulation, that's how we respond. And you know what? And all those people have different beliefs. Some of them believe you have to be baptized. Some of them believe that once saved, always saved. Some of them believe, they all have different beliefs. And they're probably all saved. The one thing about the mark of the beast is if it is something that is just plainly obvious, it's going to wake everybody up. I think if it's not one of those things to where it's already been available to take the mark of the beast, if it's something that comes with like the implementation of an artificial intelligence judicial system, like for instance, if they were to say AGI is achieved, they've given consciousness to a computer and they've put it in charge of our judicial system and maybe our military. If it decides that Sharia law is the right way to enforce the law, you'll know what the mark of the beast is. So I don't know if it's going to be that obvious. I'd like to think that it is, because then, in that situation, it should wake people up. But given the way things have gone, we've made a lot of assumptions that have turned out to be completely different from what we assumed. So anything's on the table, really. I'm not going to make any sure statement about anything just because it's very much a watch and see what happens. This is an observer prophetic fulfillment. Car attacks on our brave ICE officers and agents are up 30,000 or 3,200% since last year. Yikes. This is more evidence that she is not innocent. Not even a few kids, just for show. Dear liberals that are calling me and journalists a pervert for investigating fraud at Somali-owned daycares. There are no effing kids at the daycares. Not even a few kids. Yeah, and that's the thing they don't understand. Biggest difference between right and left, no one on the right wishes that women were dead. The left would be jubilant if she had... and here's something interesting in regards to the end times, is when the two witnesses are killed and left in the street for 3.5 days, you can see who's going to rejoice. It's not our group. It's not the people on the right. It's definitely going to be the people who are rejoicing at death right now, unfortunately. If white men become a minority, we will be slaughtered. Remember, if non-whites openly hate white men, while white men hold a collective majority, then they will be 1,000 times more hostile and cruel when they are a majority over whites. White solidarity is the only way to survive. He says true. All right, we got to go even faster. We got 3 more minutes. UAE, we're going to skip Grok. Minneapolis, we're just going to skip Minneapolis. I think we know enough about that. Border control agents targeted vehicle stops in Portland, Oregon. The passenger of the vehicle. Okay, so there was a shooting in Portland. It was Tren de Aragua. A Wisconsin man has admitted to killing his parents to steal their money to fund a plot to assassinate President Trump. Nikita Casal pleaded guilty to intentional harm. Wow. Another horrific crime. 2 innocent little... Eesh. See, there's a lot of this stuff. Wow. My dad is the only person who would service his plane in order to move from Canada to South Africa. Huh. This is the riot in New York City. Grok. Jensen, what's he saying? He's just praising he's just praising the Grok stack. That's Grok. The value of X, definitely. We would not be on the air if it weren't for Elon. Legal bias. I feel like this needs to go viral. Legal bias is accelerating a vehicle towards a federal officer constitutes assault with a deadly weapon, up to 20 years of imprisonment. Justifying deadly force per Supreme Court precedent. Oh, so this is an actual precedent that was set. So this is a legal basis. Oh, I read bias. Legal basis. So under 18 USC 111B, that a vehicle is a deadly weapon. Elon is right about everything. Yeah, pretty much. Both Elon and Trump. People respond negatively to the truth more often than positively because the truth tends to be offensive. People get so blinded in their lies and in their filth that when somebody comes along and says, you know what, you shouldn't be living in that filth. When you're used to living in that kind of in filth or living in sin, the truth is offensive. And, Elon Musk and Donald Trump speak a lot of truth, and it's very offensive. That's why there's so many people tormented. What else? It's unbelievable. To be racist is a regrettable feature of the darkness of the human heart, but usually the racism is targeting the other. Made an anti-harassment campaign. Jordan Peterson once argued that a lot of what's happening in our culture is just attempts at fertility suppression aimed at young women, and now I see it everywhere. Oh, yeah, dump him. Yeah. Starmer, ChatGPT. Who's on the committee? Yesterday, a quasi-judicial body in Italy fined Cloudflare $17 million for failing to go along with their scheme to censor the internet. Who is on this committee? Yeah. C.S. Lewis predicted the modern obsession with being nice would destroy the soul. I didn't know that. We're almost done here. U.S. rep threatens sanctions on Keir Starmer and UK if he bans X over Grok. That'd be good. Just in, new point of view footage. Okay, Minneapolis, Grok, Saudi, Grok. JD Vance, if you want to say this woman's death, okay, we've already read that. CNN, 2 criminals, illegal aliens who attacked Border Patrol in Portland are a gang member and his prostitute are not not an innocent married couple. Yeah, there was a shooting down in Portland yesterday, I think it was, and they were Trende Aragua, both of them. Fastest way to destroy New York. Zoran Mamdani's advisors plan for socialized housing. That's exactly how it happened in Venezuela. Housing will be owned by a collective, and everyone will be paying 30% of their income in order to live in their housing. Get out now. Get out of New York. You don't want to be under that. Although he's going to have a very hard time getting things done because of the way New York works. But I don't know. I see New York as another California. Maybe he won't have a hard time getting things done. I've received some questions about what we mean in our national security strategy when we invoke civilization concerns, so I'm tweeting irrelevant news. Serial rapist metropolitan police officer allowed to join the force because of drive to improve diversity. Oh, Lord. All right, we'll watch this. We got a little bit of time.
Sharing a hearing in the Senate on January 28th on this fraud. We're going to look at Minnesota.
All right, we know about that. They're going to look at Minnesota. And then he's updated his pinned video. This is the one we want to watch.
Thank you for working so hard so I can be home all day, free. I can use my EBT. Go to work for me, white boy, white girl. Yeah. Go to work for me, you fucking white animals. Fucking work for me. Yeah, you fucking work for me.
I think you get the point. All right, there you go. That is your daily Torment report in just 2 minutes 3 minutes now, over an hour. Man, an hour really isn't enough time. It's no wonder why we go over every night, because to spend time on each one of those messages takes a little bit of time. Although there is a lot of repetition. There is definitely a lot of repetition. You know, there's just a lot of information on Minnesota, a lot of information on Somalia and other states. There's just the gas stuff. President Trump with what he's doing, the different deals he's making, the riots and the conflict. It's a lot to cover. But there you go. That's what we got. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Let's see. Did I have anything else? Let me do a quick look, see if I prepped anything else. Nope. Oh, 3-Eye Atlas. So Stefan Burns put out a video saying they think they may have solved the mystery with 3-Eye Atlas. And the reason why it's not behaving the way that they're used to is, and he could be wrong about this, and I still like to lean towards the spaceship, Jesus on a spaceship, until proved 100% wrong because it's more fun. But it may just be that the asteroid is spinning significantly faster than they've ever seen any other interstellar objects. Which could account for the anti-tail and the material doing what it's doing. So we could go back to having Grok. Yeah, Grok definitely does a good job at summarizing it in like 15 minutes. We could do that. We could have Grok. So here's the problem, though. Grok does a very good job of summarizing anything that's on X. It does a terrible job of summarizing Truth Social. And the reason is Truth Social doesn't have a public API. Matter of fact, they're shutting down the public API. So you have to rely on rebroadcasters who take Trump's posts and repost them somewhere else. And they're never current. They get behind quite regularly. So when you do summaries, it could be summarizing information from the day before while it's summarizing stuff that Elon did the day of. So that's one of the challenges with doing the Grok summary. I might just write my own web scraper that literally just acts like a person and loads up the page, scrolls down, summarizes what's there, scrolls up until it gets to 24 hours too late. I may do that, and then we could go back to doing the summary. And then what we could do is we could keep the Torment report to under like 30 minutes, like 15 minutes for each one, and then spend time going through scripture, studying, observations, more of the other stuff that I think might be a more entertaining process. Maybe we can experiment with that next week. I'll see what I can do on coming up with that web scraper to see if we can keep a current summary of what Donald Trump is doing. So 3-Eye Atlas, they may think they have some explanations for things. That was new. And I think that was really the important stuff. Obviously, there's a lot going on, but for now, we're going to call it a day because we're going into our Sabbath. It's time to take some time and relax. Think about God, spend some time with Him and with your family, and don't work too hard. Take some time off. You deserve it. Thank you for joining me. If you like this content, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, comment, and ask questions on this video. And if there's anything else you guys want us to cover, let me know. I'm happy to talk about, we primarily cover end time event stuff. So if you have any questions about content we cover and want me to cover something in more detail, let me know. Thanks again for joining me. See you guys probably Monday, but I'm planning on doing a video on Sunday. I'm going to start doing videos specifically towards Jews. I want to start directing our data towards the Jews to get their consideration. So you may see me on Sunday. I might put something out. We'll see how it goes. God bless you guys. Shalom, shalom.